shit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait.
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Welcome. Okay, so welcome. My name is Brittany Tomlinson, for those of you who didn't hear me before. I am the product marketing manager for XR. Everyone in the back still can't hear me. Right in there? Okay, so we're gonna get started so that we don't keep this awkwardness going any longer. Again, this is Brad Wires, our head of product for XR. We have Tony Parisi, who is the head of AR/VR strategy for ads, and we have Scott Flynn, who is the director of product for XR. Director of engineering for XR. And again, we are so excited that you guys are here. We're just going to welcome you for a minute before we get into our presentation. So I'm going to head it over to Tony to get started.
All right, thanks everyone. Wow, I'm way louder than you are, Brittany. Can you hear me in the back now? Great. It's all about projecting. So thanks so much for being here. This is really about you, the developer. Most of what we're going to see tonight is developer presentations, but we wanted to welcome you as a team. You're seeing a cross-functional team here of people who do VR and AR at Unity, from a product to business strategy to product marketing to engineering. And we're just delighted that we've been on this journey for the last several years and that we're moving forward now. This year is a little bit more about an emphasis on augmented reality, not that we're not doing anything we were doing in VR. We're going to continue to do that, but we're really sort of leaning in now on AR, with AR coming to the phones. Market projections say we're going to have 1 billion handsets out there between the Google ecosystem and the Apple ecosystem, lots and lots of augmented reality enabled phones, which is the first way that most people are going to see this stuff, ultimately on a journey toward getting fully immersed into all kinds of glasses-based AR, all kinds of immersive VR in the home and in location-based entertainment. And that's so amazing. It's probably, a lot of you folks know, Unity powers most of that. Over 60% of the world's XR is made with Unity. All the top studios are using our stuff for everything. You've heard us go on about those market stats, so we won't labor them too much. So now with AR, we're in an interesting spot here. We have some serious challenges on the tech side, on the product side, on the education side, and on the design side, including performance, including supporting a lot of platforms. So with that, I want to actually turn it over to the rest of the group and share some stories. I think I want to start with Scott.
How's everyone doing? Am I projecting as well as Tony? All right. First, to get a read of the audience, who's here for the beer and who's here for XR? All right, both. Okay, so I've been at Unity for a while now and spent about the last 3.5 years working on VR and then AR, and I just want to take a second to kind of appreciate how far we've come in 3.5 years from the DK1 days with almost no content. I'm assuming a lot of this audience has an interest and has built content, and I want to thank all of you because without you being there, we have nothing to build. So the fact that you guys are building content with the tools that we make is really exciting and rewarding for us in R&D. That being said, well, total mind fart. Where am I going with this? Yeah, so this year, like Tony said, this morning we announced Magic Leap. This is kind of like the next generation of devices. We're going to be seeing the Oculus Go in the future and other standalone devices. So really excited about the next generation of hardware that we're going to be working with all of you on, and looking forward to seeing the content that you create. Oh, and there was another thing, is if you guys have feedback, we really want to hear in R&D, and Brad, who I'm introducing you next, is the guy to give that feedback to.
Actually, so when we were thinking about this, just before the devs come on, just wanting to introduce ourselves to you, this is partially so you can find me and give product feedback, but also Scott's been working behind the scenes for a long time with the engineering team, years and years, and we've been taking the feedback in this entire time. So a big part of this is, thanking you for being pioneers with us, and getting that back and making its way back to Scott and actually coming out through Unity so we can all kind of explore here together. And the one thing I kind of wanted to get everyone excited about was just developing for XR, experimenting in it. We're getting to the point now where we are commercially. It's commercially viable, and the product design challenges that we'll all need to overcome for this to be, for this to be viable to go even bigger, need to be solved by us all just kind of working together and trying things and leaning on each other and continuing to make our community strong. And that's really all I wanted to get up here and drill through. Besides, feel free to harass me. That still stands after this. You have an open license for the next 2 hours at least to come up to me in person and let me know any gripe you have or the most crazy feature request. I'd love to hear it. But mirroring what Scott said too, really appreciate all the pioneers who are here over the last 4 years, helping spur this community and get the engine to where it is for XR. Thanks a lot.
Great, Bradley. Yeah, so just an awesome team. So many person years of work have been put into this. Scott, can we even talk about the team size behind platforms? Is that like proprietary information? It's dozens and dozens of people supporting over 25 platforms, including all the major XR stuff. So Herculean effort from product to engineering and product marketing. Brittany. Great. So listen, we're going to have a bunch of demos from developers, and the natural tendency to get drinks and food and start chatting is going to be there. So try to be respectful. There's presentations from amazing Unity developers coming for the next hour or so before the keynote live stream. So be chill, get your drink, get your food, but don't make noise back there, okay, if you can. And with that, I'm going to hand it to Brittany. She's going to kick the speaker lineup off.
So again, we are so excited. The first speakers who we have today are from a company called Tender Claws. We have Mitch, Tanya, and Samantha, who are going to be showing off their newest AR experience that was actually featured in Sundance's New Frontier. Woo!
Hi. We are Tender Claws, while Mitch is here hooking up the computer. My name is Tania Leal Soto. I am very fortunate to be the producer of Tender Claws. Thank you, Unity, for having us here. Thank you, Tony, for thinking of us. He's been a great supporter. This is Samantha Gorman. She is the co-founder of the studio. And for code and design, Mitch, he's one of the best developers in the world, really. He might have paid me to say that, but so Tender Claws is an independent studio. We're located in Los Angeles. We work in the intersection of art, tech, and games. The first project of the studio, Pry, was here at IGF. Last year, we launched virtual reality, also made with Unity. As part of the Google Daydream, it was one of the launch titles. And this year, we're going to be launching Tender. And I would like Samantha to talk a little bit about what inspired the studio to make this game.
Yeah. So Tender is made with AR Core, and it's in development. It is a comedy about a AR virtual pet fish that wants to understand human emotions, and how it does that is by devouring the AR emotion blobs of you and your friends. And it evolves over time, depending on what type of emotions you feed it. And we're showing some stills from the in progress, our development of the game. And you can see Mitch's lovely face. He's been making all sorts of awful contortions to get these the food for the fish. One of the things that inspired us working in AR is I did a project for the first Google Glass when that was launched. And I'm very interested in room scale, creating for room scale VR, and there's some great things that can be done for tabletop. But I wanted to create an experience that was a social AR experience. What would that look like? If you could get a layer of information that was put over somebody else in the physical space with you, how would that change how you interact with them in the physical space? Another thing is AR Core has made it super easy for us to put models and characters in the world. But why are we putting characters in the player's world? How do they actually engage with the player and their physical space? So some of the things we have is the guppy can not only eat the emotions off your face, but also learn about what's in the world with you. The project itself is actually long-form AR content, so it evolves over multiple sessions of play, and that was something else that we felt really strongly about. The version we have here, which is actually at the Google booth, is a 5-minute kind of companion piece that you can do with a friend. And yeah, so I'll let Tanya take you a little bit through that in the installation.
So as Brittany was saying, this companion piece was part of the Sundance New Frontier this year. At Sundance, it was actually 8 to 10 minutes. And we created a physical installation with 2 tanks. The companion piece is actually a 2-person experience where, you know, I won't tell you much because I'm hoping that all of you are going to go out to the Google booth to experience it. But some of the important things about it is we use the front and the back camera. And we're very excited about the response, you know. People seem really excited about Guppy, and we're really hoping you're going to be excited too. And with that, I'm going to leave it to Mitch.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to be making content in AR and how you can best utilize your workflow with Unity to make content as fast and as high polished as possible. For us, one of the biggest priorities was creating a workflow in which we could iterate quickly. Building to a phone every time when it comes to certain tech art things was not viable for us at the speed at which we wanted to iterate. So we wanted to pre-compute some videos to have some 3D information and, in our case, some emotional information. I can talk to you one-on-one about the emotional labor required in putting a phone up to your face and having to feel happy at 10 a.m. on a Monday on demand for up to 5 minutes. So instead, you just have a coworker film you going through a series of emotions, and that way you can cue those up. Obviously, we were always trying to strive to make tools to make our iteration faster, but with AR, this is particularly important. As soon as you can possibly get a build onto a device, do that. Because you want, the thing about AR, the thing that makes AR so special right now is that it's going to be everywhere. So you want to get that phone in your pocket and you want to be testing this app wherever you go. On the train, in your bedroom, any lighting condition, any sound condition, anything that your app is going to be acting differently than your very nice light and sound controlled office, you want to know that as soon as possible because that's really going to inform the type of decisions you'll be making at any point along the process. We've really enjoyed this process so far of designing for AR and Unity, and honestly, we think this is going to be a lot of fun for all of you who haven't given it a shot yet. So yeah, if there are any questions, we're Tender Claws, and thank you for your attention.
I don't know if anybody has any questions. Come to the Google booth. Look for the fish tank. It's amazing. All right, thank you.
All right, so we will move right along. So we know that I think one of the most obvious industries and use cases for AR and VR is games. But as the technology continues to advance, we're starting to see it cross different industries, including like the media entertainment industry. And so with that, I'm excited to welcome up Pasha and Ernest, who are going to share their AR and VR experience where they created, they brought a comic book to life in collaboration with the Black Eyed Peas and Marvel Comics.
Hi, everyone. So we're presenting our VR part of this project. The AR was developed by another company, by the way. It was lots of fun to work with Will.i.am with Black Eyed Peas. And it was the first project we did such a big, because it's like 90 minutes of VR experience. And it's very new way to approach the media, VR media, because it's a virtual comic book. We've never seen anything like this before and after. And we used the Unity, and it was a blast. It was very very powerful tool to work with. Allowed us to use all the tricks of this engine and create pretty exciting visuals for mobile device. Okay, we're gonna show some. Pasha, do you want to add something?
Hi, I'm Pasha, and I'm going to perform You're Always in My Mind. No, I'm kidding, sorry. So, as Aaron said, we are collaborating on this project, Masters of the Sun, and I just want to preface that one of the challenges of VR medium is that it's very difficult to show in group setting. And we do realize, I want to preface that we would much rather have you see the project than see us talking about it. We run into similar problem. We were just in Sundance as a previous presenter, and it was a big challenge to enable a theater of people to see it.
By the way, I just want to add, if you want to see it, it's right now running in the VR room. You can grab your headset and check this out.
Yeah, thank you. And so we're going to start with just showing you the trailer. Hopefully it gives some idea of what the project is about and try to tell you what our journey was to get there. But again, we encourage you to either see it here or go to Oculus for Gear VR and check it out.
By the early 1980s, the reality of life in the ghetto was harsh.
I built this place for Black people to find refuge from the hopelessness and crime out there, for them to find their voice.
With her beautiful voice, she raised people against the evil, but evil lurked.
Thank you. So basically, a little bit about how we got there. Me and Ernst, we came from art background, and we've been fortunate enough to work with Black Eyed Peas and will.i.am for many years now, and always on amazing pushing boundaries projects. And will.i.am approached us about 5 years ago as he was writing this story. And his question to us was really, how can we use technology to tell this story, and how can we invent a completely new medium specifically around this story? And this sounds very out there and very futuristic, as everything will.i.am kind of approaches with. And we tried many things. We tried mobile, interactive, choose-your-own-adventure kind of deals, and everything seemed kind of gimmicky and not really representative of the depth of the story, until will.i.am called me. Specifically, I remember it was a Christmas day because somebody gave him Gear VR for Christmas, and it was like 3 years ago. And he said, you have to go and check it out. And when we did, it's become instantly very apparent to us that VR might be the next pivotal change since invention of cinema to the storytelling. And the reason for that is what VR does really, really well, it's it's letting you forget where you are and transport you to another place. It's basically, and that's what essentially storytelling is about. Storytelling is letting you forget where you are and who you are for a second, and go into completely different world and letting you see that world through another character's eyes. And that's how we basically realized this is our journey, this is our tool, this is our platform, and that's where a lot of challenges started, we realized it's an enormous undertaking. And Ernst, who is quite possibly the best character designer I know, designed the amazing characters which we have here, and we build an amazing team to build the environments you see and make it truly immersive. But the biggest challenge on the technical side was that we tried to involve what is known as game development approach, or what we refer to, where creative team and development team work kind of together on the same content, but it's not at the same time, meaning the creative team would spend weeks doing something and then it would send it to development team to be implemented, and then a few weeks later they get it and it's all wrong. And very quickly we realized it will take us, this is 90 minutes of experience, we realized it will take us probably 20 years to build it. And that was kind of very disappointing, and we've been pretty much ready to halt the project completely. And that's where actually Unity helped us a lot, because I, having a little bit of technical skills and develop very little, very minimal, I decided to kind of give it a try myself and just open Unity and try to build the project from inside, just take a simple scene. And that's where a lot of methodology, we invented a lot of methodology when we were able to kind of mess with things hands-on. And we did a lot of adjustment to our pipeline. Firstly, we came up with this idea that we have unified player, which would play the assets, which creative can actually hit the play button and see instantly what they do. And we kind of unify the standard. We combine 360 pre-rendered video with 3D assets, with high resolution panoramic images and textures and music. And that's kind of pushed the project, definitely allow us to push and create a methodology which we scaled up to build the whole experience. And yeah, and then a lot of interesting things happened, because a lot of people you just saw mentioning believed in project enough to join us and give us their time and talent, like Queen Latifah and Rakim and Keres-Wan. And to top it all off, Stan Lee, who I still can't believe happened, he actually agreed to be narrator of a story voiceover. And lastly, we got a chance to work with Hans Zimmer, who scored it. And that was another incredible technical challenge, because Hans Zimmer, who score movies, don't have capability or technical resources to work with unlinear VR reality. And we had to basically invent it from scratch, and it was that was where we were way out of our depth, because we don't even work with audio. And that's what's exciting in working in XR now, because you get to invent, like, anywhere you go, there is no standard tool. Unity might be only platform which actually trying to, unify it, but like for sound, for example, there is no standard tool we can use, and we had to invent it from scratch and work for months with Hans Zimmer engineering team to basically enable them to score in the format of this unlinear interactive experience, unlinear time.
Pasha forgot to tell that it's based on a comic book, which you can buy. It's published by Marvel. And this is the cover, by the way. It's pretty well done, by the way. It's drawn by Damien Scott and written by will.i.am. So enjoy it if you like comic books, anyway. So what we're presenting here, it's a VR experience of this story from this comic book.
Thank you. Yes, that is correct. So, I just want to share a last bit. Is my personal kind of emotional moment in this story when we, because I think that's kind of like a dream come true for anybody who wants to be a storyteller. Is that when we work on this project for for almost 2 years, and more if you count all the experimentation. And by the time we finish and send it to Hans Zimmer and Black Eyed Peas to score, we already saw each animation and each storyboard thousands of times, literally. And you get emotionally numb. And this is a very emotional story, but you get emotionally numb because, as is expected, you don't see it the way you hope audience would see it. But when we got it with the score, I realized I getting goosebumps, I getting choked up. I see this project as I haven't seen before. I see it project as it's not something I was part of, but as a viewer, as a completely open. And that is, I think, this, like I said, it's dream come true for anybody who wants to do storytelling, is to see that project getting the life on its own. So I really hope you can check it out. It's called Masters of the Sun, and it's available currently in Oculus for Gear VR, but it will be available pretty much cross-platform in the next month or so, and including iOS, and because it does work on mobile. And that's pretty much that. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Hey, everybody in the back. Can we ask you one more time? It's the noise level's creeping up. If you're near the food or from the food forward, try and keep your conversations down to a minimum or zero. If you want to talk, maybe go back behind the food. Go back where the ping pong tables are. Go back where the pool tables are. But we have presenters here, and we want to make sure that they can be heard everywhere for the people who want to hear them, okay? Thanks very much. Brittany?
Okay, so our next presenter is going to be sharing about how to place iconic tanks in the real world around us. He's going to get the video set up to be playing in the background, but I'm going to pass it over to Matt in the meantime.
Thanks, Brittany. Hi, everybody. Welcome to GDC. All right. Woo! It's really nice to be here. Thank you, Unity, Tony, Brittany, everybody for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna actually do a quick little video send out to my team who's spread all over the world. And we just launched World of Tanks augmented reality experience on AR Core and iOS in partnership with Google. We're also showing it at the Google booth. And we just launched that today. So I want to just send a quick little mixed reality videogram to my team. If I can get everybody to, when I pan over here, give me some sweet congratulatory cheers for Minsk, Cyprus, San Francisco, Spokane, Washington. Truly global effort. So let me just get this started. All right, panning down. The tank is right there. It's looking, nope. Panning down, the tank's right there. It's looking sweet and woohoo! Woo! Thanks. Thank you for indulging me. I'll share it with everybody afterwards as proof that we have an actual product. So I'm Matt Daly. To keep it as brief as possible, I'm a special projects lead in a group called Wargaming Special Projects. We're Wargaming. We make games, many games, publisher, developer, global, 4,000 employees, 16 offices, 130 million registered users, World of Tanks, et cetera, et cetera. My group works in the sort of innovation department, doing early adoption of new technology while it's practical but also difficult for the average person to access. Our priority is on R&D, quick iterative developments, if possible a tie-in with heritage, history, or culture. We've done a lot of work with Google Arts and Culture, lots of museums. In the case of this particular project that you're seeing here, our longtime partner, the Tank Museum at Bovington in Dorset in southern UK, we're missing a Tiger tank from their new Tiger tank collection of like historic German vehicles. We decided that since they couldn't physically bring this super rare tank into the space itself in the museum, that we would bring it out from World of Tanks through a portal that opens in the back of the wall. And like that's it right there. That's the Sturmtiger, and it comes out of the wall and there's like a dedicated space to it. If you go there right now, it's still running actually on Google Tango. We started with HoloLens and Tango. HoloLens for the immediate sort of like, you definitely can't get this at home, wow factor. We started with Unity immediately because we knew that the impact was gonna be strong, that the interest was gonna be really high, and that we would want to do more with this. So we built this on Unity. We built it simultaneously for HoloLens and Tango. Pretty esoteric, non-standard architecture, and it was super easy for us, like everybody else has been saying, to get these objects and experiences out into the world, multiple environments, to see how they behaved. Do we want them big, small? We decided with big at first to match the spatial context that it's sitting in. That's a tip that I would give to anyone doing mixed reality, is be aware of the potential context, spatial context that you're deploying in. It's super useful. There were moments where we were taking screen grabs of the Sturmtiger next to the Tiger 1, which is the tank that was in Brad Pitt's Fury, David Ayer's Fury film. Sort of the crown jewel of the tank museum. It's pretty awesome. And the visual anchor of the two of them that are very similar, they're basically the same from the neck down, made it so that some people didn't realize that we were showing mixed reality photos. Such was the sort of impact. To make a long story shorter, we took that based off of the engagement from the historical community and our own fan base and the general public and the media. We decided to sort of take it out, develop additional experiences. We took it all around the world, did like 12 or 13 events, I think, in like 6 months. Russia, Japan, Australia, USA, etc. And then eventually we got to the stage where we were approached by Google so that we could launch as a launch title, because we hadn't released this thing yet beyond CIS only. And we were approached by them to be featured and to be included in their booth deployment for GDC this year. And this happened maybe like mid-January, so our timeline was pretty short. We had sort of a pre-existing set of assets that we could start working with, but the process of getting it from demo ready at a live event with curation to being able to be released into the wild with all of the potential emergent behavior issues, UI, UX stuff, meant that we had to move really fast. This entire project was about moving quickly, agilely, and responding to market conditions, partner opportunities, location-based opportunities. And I can definitely say that without Unity, that would have been extremely difficult for us to do. That was HoloLens and Tango into ARKit and ARCore in a matter of just a few months, from site-specific museum installation. That's my buddy after barbecue in Texas. That's Minsk, actually. So truly sort of global tank presence. They are two tanks, actually. They're two very different tanks than Tender Claws tanks. But we definitely were able to move quickly, test iteratively, get constant deployments, super useful. I want to give a shout out to our partner developer, Gravity Jack, who is just like the king of the business, know everything inside out as far as MR, AR, XR, whatever R you want. Just really happy to be able to be here, to be kind of tickling people's brains a little bit, showing what the realm of possibility is. For a lot of the people that we're showing this to, nobody has done this before, seen it before. And I think it gives people a sense of it's a near future scenario that is current and it's present and it's possible right now. And I'm just really happy to see the huge amount of variety in the types of developers that are developing all sorts of different products. Like I was already fans of the last two groups that came up, and it's just really cool to be contributing something additional to that space, bringing the historical community into it. And it's all about this sort of like large fan base that we have that are about contextual learning, right? Like being able to engage with history in a way that is entertaining and engaging regularly, and building a context for why you should care about this stuff, and being able to take sort of the World of Tanks ethos, which is all about history and heritage for sure, and being able to take some of that stuff out into the world is just a great opportunity. I'm really happy that we were able to do that, and like super huge thanks to Unity for existing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. So our next presenters I'm really excited to introduce them. They're going to be showing us about how they've brought their Hot Wheels AR to life, allowing you to just really participate in the game with a cheering crowd, flying drones, fireworks, strategic oil pit stops. So we have Jason and Jake from Trigger Global and Jason from Hot Wheels, who's going to share with us today.
Hey guys. So I'm Jason Yim. I'm the CEO of Trigger. We're the mixed reality agency out of Los Angeles. So we have about 100,000 hours plus of AR, MR dev. Our first AR project was in 2009, actually for Sony, for District 9. Our services kind of range from, on the marketing side, we did all the AR stuff for Star Wars. So like Force Friday last year, The Last Jedi, all of that was on our side. On the location-based side, we just came from South by Southwest. We won the Innovation Award for the Lego fish designer. Basically, it's in the Lego Museum, and you can build fish out of brick, put it into a scanner, and it comes to life on this digital tank. And then on the enterprise side, we work with Honda. We're working with them on design tools that their actual concept designers are using, also built in Unity, but it basically takes away clay. So they spend $50,000 a month on physical clay, and now you can get rid of that step. You can take away 8 weeks of like physical development of carving clay and replace it with a digital model straight away. So and have them evaluate. But what we're really excited to show here is our project with Mattel. So we've worked in the toy industry for a while. We've done 30 plus digital physical. Play prototypes and stuff. And I think we've been trying to push towards true mixed reality. It's not just about putting a digital layer in the physical world. I think it feels like real reality when the physical side actually reacts to the digital side. It's not just the cosmetic layer, but there's like this feedback loop between the digital and physical side. So I'm gonna leave it to Jason and Jake.
Hey everybody, my name is Jason Chen. I'm actually Mattel Electronics, so I am an electronic engineer. Yay! Okay. Yes, thank you. So this is one of our babies that we got lucky enough to partner up with Trigger. So what is Augmoto? It's essentially augmented reality layered on top of real-world physical racing. Okay, hold this for me, Jason, please. All right, so everybody here pretty much played with RC cars before. You as a user control the vehicle, right? Forget about it. That's not Augmoto. So this is one of Augmoto's vehicle, all right? Very simple. Yes, give it a gander. So what you see in there in the green cylinder is actually a supercapacitor. What is a supercapacitor? Essentially a battery. You charge it, it holds a charge, and it discharges into the motor, turning the wheel, okay? The more you run the vehicle, the slower it gets, and that's it. That's the basic concept of the vehicle. So what is the point of the game? The point of the game is for you to control the pit lane. The pit lane has charging prongs. When you pit the vehicle, the charging prong comes up and charges the vehicle. So this is actually a strategy game of when to pit, how often to pit, and there's more. There's missiles. You can collect virtual missiles by sending your car through the loop and attack your opponent. What does that do? That confuses and complicates the situation. You may have a strategy, it goes out the window when we start attacking you. And that's the basic gist of Augmoto. Yes, and I am an engineer, I am not a marketing person, so. All right, enough talking, we'll show you. So Jake here is actually the app developer on this from Trigger. And what you see on the big screen is essentially what he's seeing on his tablet. All right, here we go. Yeah, let's just skip. So what Jake is doing here to initialize the tracking and the magic moment. Augmented reality on top of real world racing right there. All right, I am ready when you are, Jake. 1. Here we go. Yeah, as you can see, Jake is orange and I am green. And I'm gonna send my vehicle through the loop to collect and attack. Ooh, just barely made it. I got me a missile. Oh, so I am going to attack Jake. And Jake is not gonna defend it. Oh, he missed the defense. So what happens? His vehicle is actually physically forced to pit. And in order for him to get out of the pit, he has to tap on a screen to fix his pit. All fixed? Come on back out, Jake. Yeah. And if you notice on top of the screen there, it's essentially information display, right? We're actually getting information back from the playset on positioning. Jake is currently second, but that's okay. There's lap count, and there's also a battery meter on the upper right-hand corner there. Jake is super empty. As you could also see physically, his vehicle is actually kind of slow. Oh, wait, did Jake hate me? Yeah, Jake got me with a missile. Okay, let me get myself out. All fixed, here we go, coming back. Oh, and Jake is actually catching up. There you go. Yes. And Jake actually wins the race. That is Augmodo, ladies and gentlemen. Augmented reality on top of real-world racing.
Yeah, so from an app perspective, it's really interesting working with real hardware. Like, so there's a Bluetooth connection between the phone and the track, and then there's a wireless connection between the two phones. So whenever we get information from the track, it has to be forwarded from one phone to the other. The physical track has internal switches which keeps track of its own state, and it's the authority on its own state. So we can send commands to the track, and then we have to sort of trust it that it's listening. And we get bytes back once it actually listens to a command. This is using Vueforia's model tracking. I think it was recently released to the public. And there's some interesting challenges there because to make all of these physical tracks, they're normally made with CAD data. So you've got to take that data, make a reasonable mesh that you can actually build a data set out of. And while you're while you're designing the track, you have to keep its tracking in mind. So we work really closely with Mattel, sort of making sure that elements of the track have an interesting shape, have a lot of contrast between different elements, so that there's a lot of feature points that we can pick up on. Let's see what else. We collaborate really closely with their firmware engineers. So if we need sort of additional data from the track, if we need how charged up the cars are, we can ask them, and they'll implement that feature in their firmware. So yeah, the collaboration has been really fun. It's really interesting to program something so that when you push a button, something in the real world moves. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Can you design your own track? Not currently, but that's the only thing we actually track is this element. So if at any point Mattel decided to change the outside of this track, they could do that and it wouldn't affect the app. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah? Oh, yeah. September, I think.
And then I just also wanted to last mention was when Pasha and team were talking about Black Eyed Peas on the AR comic book. We actually developed the AR part of that comic book. So it's 100 pages, Mattel comic book, every single page, every single panel has a AR, either voiceover or some animation or music throughout. So anyways, thanks guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. We have 2 more presentations before we start the keynote live stream. So our next presentation, we're going to be seeing about Crime Scene VR, where you can solve crime from the comfort of your own home.
All right, so I'm Radomir Kucharski from Spectral Games, and I would like to present to you a game, A&E Crime Scene AR, which is co-developed by Milkroom, who was mostly responsible for design, and by Spectral Games, who did most of the development. And the game is inspired by A&E crime investigation shows like First 48, Crime 360, or Live PD. And What we actually do here is we create a virtual crime scene in your real-life environment in your living room. So you can experience what it is to be a homicide detective and work on a crime. There are basically 3 stages in the game. You start with the crime scene, which is in your room, and then you move to autopsy and final interrogation. And the point is to find as much evidence and clues as possible so you can convict the suspect. We start with using AR core to detect the flat surface, and then we let the player to find a clear spot where we anchor the dead body, and then we spread evidence and clues around.
Generating crime simulation now. Like the other cases, this one ain't based on real life. The difference here, though, is you get a chance to use the evidence you find against a suspect in an interview. Our DRT is 68-year-old Reggie W., widowed, retired. Got a call from his son Reggie Jr. when Dad missed a lunch date. Looks like your typical suicide, right? Woe is me, goodbye cruel world, I can't go on. Well, looks can be deceiving. Take a look around.
So now the player has to tag the dead body and then look around for the clues and evidence. You can also use special tools like luminol spray, fingerprint kit to collect more evidence. Finally, there are mini games which lets you analyze the evidence, found things. This is DNA match. You need to work in your environment to match DNA, so you find more evidence. And when you got a lot of it, when you got enough evidence, you can find the primary suspect.
There's the entry wound. You see the powder burns from the shot seem to be spread out a bit too much. That means the gun was probably fired too far away from the victim's head for him to have fired it. This is good. There's the exit wound. It doesn't look big enough for a shot to be fired at that distance. Prescription sleeping pills. The script's made out to Reggie Jr. too. Let's see if we find any of that in our Vic's toxicology during the autopsy. There's a suicide note. So far, pretty cut and dry. Should be home by supper, right? It is odd that it's typed and printed, isn't it? There it is, the smoking gun. Looks like there's a partial on it too. Dollars to donuts that don't match your victim. Let's run it and see. Now that's a little strange. The print don't match either a Vic or anyone else in the database. Roger that. There's the exit wound. It doesn't look big enough for a shot to be fired at that distance. You know, if this were a movie, the coroner would be over there eating a sandwich.
All right, so when you find all the evidence in your room, you can move to the autopsy mode. where you can examine the body.
Let's take a look at what Doc found inside Reggie Sr.'s stomach, huh?
There's another minigame here, toxicology, which lets you find out if the victim was poisoned.
Reggie Jr.'s prescription, and enough to probably kill him without the gunshot. Could be Dad got tired of waiting around for the pills to take effect. Could be Reggie Jr.'s tried to pull a fast one. Circumstantial, but it's pretty strong stuff. The GSR test, gunshot residue test, can determine if someone, and in this case, Reggie Sr., fired a weapon. Go on and start the test. Results are negative. That's great news for us and crappy news for Reggie Jr. No way in hell Dad fired that weapon.
So after you find enough evidence to find a primary suspect, you can move to the last stage, which is interrogation. During interrogation, your aim is to get a convict, to get...
That's none of your business. I was at home with my kids in my one-room apartment, my 1 weekend a month. Yeah, I picked it up when I got there and dropped it right away. Pops probably wanted you to find
So
it
you
right
want to
away,
get the
so
confession
you
from
can
the
get
suspect.
started on whatever paperwork you
The
needed
thing
to.
is, you need to
Even on
tread
death's
lightly,
door,
because
always
if
so
he gets
thoughtful.
too excited or too angry, he will call for a lawyer, which is basically the end of interrogation.
I have a prescription, terrible insomnia. Well, with my dad's mental health and little Carson being so sick all the time. I usually keep them on me, you know. They must have fallen out of my pocket when I was leaning over his perfectly still body. He looked peaceful in a way. Happy. Sounds great. I haven't eaten yet today. I forget sometimes. I get so wrapped up in everything. You know, it makes sense, what with Dad dying and whatnot. You know, forgetting the little things.
All right. A&E Crime Scene AR is out in Play Store, so I would like to invite everybody to download it and playtest it. It was just featured by Google as a launch title for AR Core. And as everybody before me said, well, Unity made it a really seamless and a great experience to develop the game. It was really quick, very easy. The integration of AR Core and Unity was great. It was plug and play solution, and the examples attached or examples included were really easy to understand. So it was very easy for us to develop the game. Thank you.
Okay, you guys, we have one more presentation before the keynote starts in 15 minutes. We get to see about a VR experience where we get to join a defense mission to defend ourselves against aliens.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having us. We're the Germans and waiting for the very last session. This is Henning. I'm Wolf. We're happy to actually show you a game that is live since today. So the title we are showing you was released today, and we are super, super proud of it. Just a quick words about us. We are a game development studio from Hamburg, Germany. Been doing games with Unity since 9 years now. Did titles like Beat Body and Battle Planet, and now we actually want to show you the latest game we're doing, Battle Planet AR. And fresh off the press, we will show the trailer. Yes, here we go. That's the wrong one. Okay, here we go.
Look at that. That looks cool. What a great planet. Best planet.
Okay, so Battle Planet was released originally last year as a was released last year as a launch title for Daydream for Google's AR platform, and this year we spent at the beginning of this year we spent porting it to AR Core, and that had some. I'm just going to give an overview about the things that we did different. That are different from when you move from VR to AR. So the first thing that's kind of nice is that in VR you always have to have a constant frame rate, and in AR you can do these loading stutters. Like, for example, if something takes a second, you can just gray out the screen and write loading over it, and it works. So that makes a lot of things way easier. You can, for example, like exporting a photo takes a second, and in VR that's just not doable, because like blacking out the screen is kind of shit. And in AR, you can do those things. And the next thing that was pretty nice was that you actually can scale the pivot. So you have like, you're in Unity, in the Unity implementation of AR Core, you have an object, you basically have a transform that is the root of the AR session, and you can basically just scale down the game and move it around. So when you develop a game like Battle Planet that kind of has a fixed playfield that you then place in the world, you can actually like not move the game, but instead move the player to the left and the right. So when you start the game, in the beginning you place the planet, and then what we do is basically just we offset the player inside of the world, and that makes it easy because then your game can be static in one place, and you just fake that. Another thing that's really nice, that was really helpful when you design an AR game, is to just use random photos from like offices or outside as the skybox, because that way it makes it way easier to design. To design something that works in like a lot of different lighting environments with like real world background, because when you have like when you develop in front of a gray screen, you do things that don't work with like a noisy background. A thing that is really cool in AR is when you play around with world space UI. So for example, we have a perk selection screen. At the end of each round, you can select a perk, and those just spawn as like runes that fly around you, and you can like look at one to select it. So I recommend playing around with that. And probably the coolest, or like the thing that we had the most fun with for this version of the game was the screenshot mode. So we added a mode where you can basically freeze the game and then take screenshots. And that allows for like making a lot of fun. And we had an internal channel in our company where we just posted like screenshots for once for bugs, but also just for like messing around and having fun. And that turned out to be a really good way to teach the players, at least the playtesters, for those it worked really well, to teach them that they can actually move the phone. Because one of the problems we faced with the VR version and then also later with the AR version is that actually players like naturally don't move at all. So, but then again, you can also not force it too much as a game mechanic. For example, in mobile VR, you cannot make the player steer by moving their head, because then they get cramps in their heads really, really fast. So what we did for the VR version is just in the beginning of the level, you have to look left, like it just tells something like, hey, look to the left, and then they look, and then they see a spaceship approaching. And those kinds of simple things that are not that gameplay relevant and that don't happen too often help them, that they realize they can actually look around in VR. And in AR, it turned out to be super natural because people are used to taking photos and kind of like taking out their phone and like playing around with perspective. So that's something people understand, and then they realize they can actually move and that it's actually 3D. So that was really helpful. Yeah, thanks for listening. Any questions? Yo?
Hello? All right. Did you make the pictures for the editor yourself, or did you just get them from somewhere?
Well, we just took some pictures of like the office and outside.
All right, thank you.
They look scratchy and weird because they're not made as skyboxes, but it's good enough. Anything else? Okay, thanks.